Well, I'm a day late for any April Fool's jokes, but then again, so far this whole year has felt like one giant April Fool's. Anyway, I will see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter, and every couple of weeks I come to this little corner of YouTube to show you what I've been working on and to give you some ideas on how we can all take our love of crafting and do a little bit of good in the world. I hope you are well. You can always find me on social media on Ravelry as Gary Knits and Rides, and on Blue Sky as Gary Knits. How's everyone doing? Has spring sprung where you are? I would say we've experienced a little bit of fall, spring, and now it's been cold and gray again for the last couple of days. But I feel like it's just around the corner. So I'm getting the good spring vibes. So I hope that it is warming up wherever you are. And what else? I should mention up front that you can find everything that I'm going to talk about today, from patterns to dyers to craftivism ideas, in the show notes that are linked down below. Or here's a QR code. You can scan that if you're not watching this on your mobile device, and it will take you right to the Google Doc with all of the links, etc., etc. It has been a relatively quiet couple of weeks until the very end, and then I had a fun trip to New York, which I'll talk about in a second. But otherwise, it's been relatively quiet, which just means I've had a lot of knitting time, and I've got a lot to show this week on the knitting side of things, not so much on the craftivism side, but on the knitting and crocheting side of things. But let's see, I got together with one of my local knitting groups. So on Thursdays, there's a local group that meets at one of the local libraries in the middle of the day. So it is mainly retired folks, and some moms whose kids are at school. So I try to go there every Thursday that I'm in town. But in the evenings, and then on a Saturday, so once a month in the evenings and once a month on a Saturday morning, there's another group here. It's actually one half of a bigger group in the greater LA area called the Drunken Knitters, and we're the branch that's in the South Bay. And we get together in the evenings usually at a wine bar, and then on Saturday morning we get together at a coffee shop locally, and we basically take the whole place over. So it was great. I missed because of travel and whatnot. I'd missed the last couple of meetups with that group, and so I was able to catch up with them on Saturday at the end of the month. I think it's the third Saturday we get together. Anyway, it was really fun, a big group, really fun. We're in the middle of, as kind of a group, doing a sock knit along. So there were several folks in the group that had never knit socks and wanted to try them. And so the organizer of the group said, "Oh, you've run knit alongs before. Would you be willing to do that?" I said, "Absolutely." So we picked out. You didn't have to work on a particular pattern, but I said if you're a beginner, the rye socks from Tin Can Knits. Here it is. I'll link it down below. But I thought that was a good basic pattern, and also you can do it in multiple sizes of weights of yarn. So if folks wanted to do a worsted weight sock, which is always my recommendation, mainly because that was the first sock that I knit, and I found it really helpful to sort of get the basics of the construction down before I started working with teeny tiny needles. Anyway, so this was the first meeting, kind of the halfway point of the knit along, and so I was able to distribute some prizes to folks who had posted their progress photos in Ravelry. So it's been really great to see, both people doing their very first sock ever, people trying new techniques, which is kind of what I was doing because I've been trying different heel techniques. So it's just been really fun and has totally dovetailed nicely into my new obsession, which of knitting socks. I just can't stop doing it. So that was a lot of fun. And then, as I mentioned, the other big thing that's happened in the last couple of weeks is I took a trip to New York, just a long weekend, mainly to see some theater. We still, for those of you who don't know, moved out to California several years ago from New York, where I had spent all of my adult life. It's what I still consider New York home. It will always be home to me. But we kept one of our theater subscriptions, which is a series that New York City Center does called Encores, where they mount productions of, historically it's been shows that you would probably never ever see produced again for whatever reason, antiquated themes or problems with books or whatever. And they do them and have, when they started doing them, they did them almost like a concert. So everyone was on books and there was sort of minimal sets and minimal choreography and things like that. They've gotten more elaborate as the years have gone on. I think this is the 26th or 27th year of Encores. So we have the subscription. It's 3 shows in the spring usually, and one of them usually coincides with a business trip I have to take. So I try to get back for at least one of the other shows. So that was the impetus for me going to New York. But while I'm there, I'm going to cram in as many shows as I can, as well as catch up with friends and have some wonderful meals in restaurants, since we live in a bit of food desert here. So that was fantastic. So I saw that show at City Center Encores, which was called Love Life, which was a show that had never been produced since its original production in 1948. It was a collaboration between Kurt Weill and Alan J. Lerner. Like you often get with this Encore series, more of interest from a historical perspective than a great show. But the performances were fantastic, and it's always, they have a wonderful orchestra, so it's fun even when the shows, you can see why they hadn't ever been or rarely produced. But then I bookended that with I got to see the new Idina Menzel show Redwood, which was good. Some amazing performances. The kid, I can't remember his name, but the kid who plays the young man in that show is unbelievable, and basically steals the show from Idina Menzel in what is the 11 o'clock number. But an interesting show about sort of loss and how we deal with loss and things like that. And then I saw Andrew Scott, who you may know as the hot priest in Fleabag, but he's done a ton of other stuff. And has brought his one-man adaptation of Uncle Vanya to off-Broadway. He did it in London and won all kinds of awards, and he's doing it downtown in the West Village for a relatively short run, I think. But it was unbelievable. It's a teeny tiny little theater. He is just amazing. He plays I think it's like 9 characters, and he doesn't really do much in terms of like really changing his voice. There's some slight changes in his voice, but it's just in the very smallest little mannerisms that he has that makes you know which character he's playing. And they do some really inventive staging with a doorway that, when people come in and go. So if you're in New York and you have a chance to get a rush ticket or whatever to see Vanya at the Lucille Lortel Theater, highly recommend. But it was a fantastic trip. New York never disappoints me, even after all of these years. And that means 2 long plane flights. That means a lot of knitting. Also on the subway, I forget how much knitting you can get done just moving around New York, because every time you jump on the subway, assuming you can get a seat or something to hook your hand on, you can knit. And so I took took several projects with me, finished two, so that was really cool. And it'll probably be a while. I don't think I'm back in New York for many months now, so that'll have to hold me in terms of theater and good food for a while. But I had a fantastic time there. Got to catch up with some friends. I'll talk about. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to do a little break here in a minute, but a project that I started that was inspired by one of the friends that I saw that I'll talk about in a little bit. So that was New York, and now I'm back home and waiting for spring to finally come to Southern California. It's been windy, as I said here, windy and kind of cold the last few days. So in terms of craftivism, not a lot, as I mentioned. One of the downsides, maybe the only downside to weaning myself off of most social media, particularly Instagram, is that I'm not getting as many craftivism ideas coming through my feed. The Blue Sky feed is not as robust as the Instagram feed. So I'm still checking in on Instagram, but I'm not on it like I used to be. But the one big one that is coming up end of this week is the annual Knit for Food Knit Along. So this is an annual event. It's been going on since 2021, originally founded by Lauren Nelkin, and it's amazing. They've raised in the four years now, $1.25 million. So I think last year they raised $350 something thousand, and I think the goal this year is like 379. They're very close to that already, and we've still got a few days to go. So basically it's a 12-hour knit-a-thon from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time, where folks just knit for 12 hours and they get sponsors, and that money goes to Feeding America, Meals on Wheels, No Kid Hungry, and World Central Kitchen. Excuse me. You can go to knitforfood.com and you can see the different teams that have been set up, or you could start your own team. There's still plenty of time if you want to get some sponsors and do that, or you can donate, or probably even join one of the other teams. I don't know how the team thing works, but I know Gigi of Gigi Made It always has a big effort. Modern Daily Knitting has a team. Patty Lyon has a team. I thought that Gabs and Che from Slip Sis were doing it, but then I just went on the YouTube and I didn't see anything in the show notes, so I could be wrong. But if you are doing Knit for Food, drop a link in the comments down below, and there's a few days left. You can get some more sponsors that way. So if you haven't already sponsored someone, please consider doing that. These organizations are critical in the best of times. Right now, I know for a fact that the Republicans are trying to kill Meals on Wheels, and they're killing food banks all over the country. It is disgusting that the richest country in the world has people that can't eat, and so unfortunately, given the current situation and tax cuts for billionaires being a more important policy priority for the Republicans than feeding kids, a lot of this, the burden of this keeping kids and adults fed is going to fall into the private sector, which again is disgusting, but that's where we are. So that is on April 5th, Knit for Food, Knit Along. Go check that out. The other thing, which is not really crafting related, although you can get crafty with your signs and your messaging, on April 5th as well, there is going to be a nationwide day of protests called Hands Off. It is almost any organization that you can think of is involved. I know Indivisible is sponsoring it. Reproductive Health for All is involved. But there are protests happening in all 50 states, from small towns to giant ones. I think the New York one's going to be in Central Park. I know there's a big one here downtown LA, but even like locally, like in our little area, they're a big group of, like, I think they've my Indivisible group is helping organize it. I think we've already got 600-700 people just going to the little local city hall down here. So you can go to handsoff2025.com, pop in your zip code, and you can find all of the organized events in your area. I think they probably vary from time on the timing of them across the country, because I know ours, we're planning to do one early afternoon here and still give people time to take the metro or drive downtown LA to try to participate in that one as well. Unfortunately, I have a prior commitment, so unless something changes, I'm probably not going to be able to be involved the day of, but may be able to join them for a sign making party or something like that that's going on. So check your local organizations and pop your zip code in at handsoff2025.com, because in addition to the day of, there may be trainings and sign making parties and things like that they can go on. So I know everyone has different opinions on the value of these protests. I think when it's like this, where it is happening in an organized manner across all 50 states, I think can make an important point to really lay bare the lie that there was any sort of mandate for all of the terrible things that this administration and the Republican Party are doing. So I think that pushing back on this lie that there was some sort of mandate is important, and this is a great show of strength. I think it also helps to build on some of the momentum we have seen in the last week, whether that is winning the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, really having a much stronger showing in the two House special elections, both of which were in deeply red state districts that were very unlikely to flip, but the margins were cut, I think, in half in both of them from just what had happened in November. So that and Senator Booker's 24-hour plus marathon on the floor, I think that's all part and parcel and helps to build some momentum to show that there is going to be some pushback to all of these terrible things that we've seen going on in the last 3 months now. So anyway, so go check out Hands Off, and if you can make it, I think it'll be a really great, energizing day for everybody. So that is it on the Craftivism. Again, as always, if you see something, say something, in terms of if you know a dyer who is raising money for a particular charity or a pattern that is being donated to charity or anything along those lines, please let me know. You can send me a DM on Instagram or Blue Sky, or you can just shoot me an email at GaryNetsGaryRides@gmail.com, and I would love to highlight anything that people are working on out there. So let's get right to the crafting. As I mentioned, I had 2 long plane flights to New York, plus lots of time on the subway, and even just sitting around. I got to the theater one day when I was down watching to go see the Vanya, and the theater didn't open till, I don't know, 1:30 or whatever, and I got there at like 1:15, and I just found like a little like wall like outside of someone's brownstone, and just sort of sat on that and was able to do a little knitting there. So if you always carry it with you, you always have something to do. The first thing that I finished is this. This is my bubble bandana. Let me take it off here. From Stephen West, and this was, I think I showed it a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple episodes ago. These were all minis that I got at Flock Fiber Festival last year in Seattle. Decided that I didn't want to buy or need to buy much in the way of like full skeins. I mean, I think the only thing I bought was for the Kamala hat that I was designing, and I needed some green yarn, and I bought that. But a couple of my friends and I were there, and we had this idea to pick up minis at different booths, and then we made this. Mine was the last last one to get finished, but I'm glad I did. I wore this. I finished it before New York, got it blocked, and it was perfect for kind of a crisp spring weather in New York. New York got warm one day, like almost 80 degrees, too hot, quite frankly. But the rest of the time it was just kind of in the like 40s and 50s, and this was a perfect weight scarf, little scarflet for that kind of weather. I love how it turned out. I love the colors and how they have gone together. I even complained while I was making it about that I thought the backside of it was not nearly as nice looking, but even that, once all the gazillion ends got woven in, I think that looks not bad at all. It was a gazillion ends. What I did for the most part was just pulled them into the I-cord and clipped them off. We'll see how well that that technique holds up over time. But I have loved wearing it. I have said I will probably never ever make this pattern again. Just the constant changing of colors just slowed the process down, and I just didn't have that great a time. It got a little better as time went on. I kind of got into the rhythm of the pattern, but was not my favorite pattern in terms of knitting, although I love how it turned out. In terms of the yarn itself, I'm going to forget someone. I know there's some Explorer Knits in there. There is some Three Fates, some Art and Alchemy, but now she's changed her name to like Woolly something. I'll link it down below. M to the Third is in there. Sea Change Fiber is in there. I can't remember. There's a Rose something, a dyer that was new to me. But we just picked up minis kind of along the way, and then I kind of reordered them until I got an order that I liked. But glad that I have it. I think I'll get a lot of use to this. It's a great weight for California and for kind of spring fall weather in colder climes. So, Bubble Bandana, Stephen West. So I had, when we went to the desert to see the tennis tournament, I'd started my second pair of Shadow Wrap heel socks, and from Earth Tone Girls, Sock Exploration is the name of the pattern, but it's mainly known for the Shadow Wrap heel. And I had started those, finished the first sock of that pair while we were, or maybe it was on the way back from the desert in the car. And so before I left for New York, I started the second sock. I got the ribbing all done, and so I knew when I got on the plane, it would just be the round and round and round and round bits. And it went faster than I expected because I really didn't think I was going to be able to finish the sock while I was at New York. I thought I'd get through the heel, but I didn't figure I'd finish it, but I did. So here is one of them. This is Woolens and Nosh. The colorway is I Brought You Some Flowers, I believe, or Look, I Brought You Some Flowers. And this is on her Targhee sock base. It was one of her Michelle's club colors from earlier this year, I think. And it came with this sort of forest green mini. I was playing around because I've had bad luck with 20 gram minis being able to do my usual cuff and heel and toe. And so I only did like 4 rounds of the twisted ribbing in the contrast color, just to see if I then had enough to do heels and toes. I had plenty. I have probably 8 or 9 grams left, so I could definitely do a little bit more of that. But it's going to be kind of test and and see what it is, or just decide to not even bother with the cuffs and just do the heels and toes. Anyway, I love the colors. Loved how it turned out. Had a second great experience with this Shadow Wrap heel, which is a short row heel, but very, very easy to memorize. So the only issue with these socks, and I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but I finished them up on the plane home, and then the night I got home, we were watching TV, and I was weaving in the ends, and I wove in the ends on the second sock first for whatever reason, and then I went to I put it on just to see how it's fitting, because I've also been playing around with stitch count and the length of the leg, primarily the foot. I haven't really messed around with, but I put it on just to see if it was tighter, because I had gone from a 68 stitch sock to this was a 64, and it felt a little tight, but I was like, wow, but this foot is like really tight. Like it's tight in the heel, it's tight in the toe. It just was like, wow, that I was like, I couldn't imagine that it made that big of a difference. And so then I grabbed the first sock to weave in the ends, and I was holding them up together, and I had stopped the second sock at the yellow here and just had not finished knitting it. I had it in my head, stop at yellow, I guess, when I was on the plane, and just when I got to yellow, then I just started the toe. So it was like, it's not quite an inch, but it's probably 3/4 of an inch short. So it was no shock that it felt a little tight. So I had to rip out that toe, knit the final stripe, and then went back into it, and now it fits fine. So these are the Shadow Wrap heel socks from Earthstone Girls, Woolens and Nosh. Knowing that I started, as I said, I started the second sock and then put it aside before the trip, so I had it to work on the plane. But as I was gearing up for the trip, I was just like, I want another pair of knit socks to have. And I remembered I had one last sock tube that I had last fall cranked up from a woman here in California. Her on Etsy, she's Totally Tubular Socks. I'll link to her shop down below. And she provides a sock cranking service. You can tell her, I think she has 3 different sizes, and you can tell her, how much you want left over for heels, toes, and cuffs from your skein, and you send her the yarn, and then she sends it back to you. And she had done a fundraiser for the Harris campaign, where she was donating her sock cranking fees for a period of time, and that's why I had the 2 tubes, because I participated in that fundraiser for her. But I had the second one, and I was just like, oh, I've got a little time before I have to start packing and stuff. Let me split the tube up and kind of get it going. I completely forgot. I mean, I've only done it once, so it's not like it's ingrained in my head, but how speedy that is to just do the heels and toes and cuffs. And, it was like instant gratification to have another pair of knit socks. And so I think I finished the one of them, and I think I was definitely working on the second sock when I got on the plane. And even though I had the Woolens and Nosh socks to work on, I was like, well, I'm just going to finish this up. And so I did. And in like a few hours, I had another pair of socks from the tube. So no, you can see this is a little looser. This is a 72-inch tube. And that's what I ordered the first time. It's a little loose. And so I got so excited by how quickly these worked out that I just grabbed 4 more skeins, and I sent them off to her to crank, and they should actually be here in the next day or so. And I went down to a 64. I think that 68 is probably ideal for me. 64 is a little on the tight side, but they stretch. And with the 72s, I have found that if I toss them in the dryer. They shrink down a little bit, and it's not like they're slouchy or falling off my legs. So this is just plain vanilla. Well, it's a sock tube, so plain vanilla. And it is Desert Vista Dye Works. The colorway is Buddhist Astrology. And I was sad to see that the woman who runs Desert Vista Dye Works is taking a break because she's had some health issues. So sending all good thoughts to her that gets resolved quickly, because she's one of the best out there in terms of the self-striping stock yarn. And then I did, this was some leftover Magpie Fibers Swanky sock in, I believe the colorway was Stag Bunny. This goes back 3 years now from my very first Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, the shawlography. That was one of my colors. And then for this one, I didn't do a contrasting heel. I just took some of the stock yarn and split one of the stripes, and then put it in there. I think it looks great, and I love this colorway. Goes very well with lots of stuff. So I'm excited now to get my 4 extra tubes. I don't think I'm going to start working on them right away, but I think I'm just going to hold on to them and use them almost like in an emergency break glass kind of boat, when I'm like, all of a sudden, I really want another pair of socks that I can, in 2 or 3 hours, whip up a new pair of socks. So plus I sent her a bunch of different yarns, some commercial yarns, some indie dyed yarns from dyers or manufacturers that I haven't done yet. So I think I sent her a skein of opal. I can't even remember now, but I sent 4, and I can't wait to see them. I'll have to hold myself back from starting another one. I have another pair of socks that already started, so at least I have those to hold me over. So these are my sock tube socks, Buddhist Astrology from Desert Vista Dye Works. In terms of the only other thing I have finished. One second, and we're back. Sorry about that. So this is somewhere between a whip and an FO. They're FOs they're whips on the way to becoming an FO, I guess. My friend Tracy, who runs the Love Petals Crochet boutique here at the Port of LA, has been, and I've talked about this in past episodes, she has been collecting squares, knit or crochet, that she is then putting together into blankets to distribute to folks who have been affected by the wildfires here in the Los Angeles area. I guess the beginning of March, I went down to the shop there, and we spent a few hours putting together some of the squares into blankets. She's doing another one of those social happy hour kind of things to make some more blankets in the next, I think it's this weekend as well. And so for that, I wanted to take some more squares. So I had several partial skeins and one full skein of this Shapia's Color Crafter that I used for one of the baby blankets last fall. And so I'm just taking everything that I have there and just making, very basic little granny squares. But I think I've done, probably done like 20, 25 of them so far, and hopefully can get another 10 or 15 done between now and this weekend. It's a perfect sitting in front of the TV watching something project, because I can pretty much do them without paying too much attention, and they're pretty quick to work through. So those are kind of the other things that are half FOs, half whips. In terms of the actual whips, I have some new things to show. Well, I have some things that I started, but some things that I haven't shown. I may have never ever shown this, but I mentioned it last time, and I said I'd bring it out if I'd make some progress on it. This is the Habitation Throw, or maybe I did show this last time. I don't know. I can never keep track. By Helen Stewart, and it was designed for Advents. And so here here's where I am. Bum, 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 bum. I'm about a third of the way through, I think. So it is an Advent. This is, I think, an Advent from 2021, and I think it's Goosey Fibers. So the theme was To Kill a Mockingbird. So if anyone knows the dyer that did that, I'm almost positive it's Goosey Fibers. Or it could be Tippy Trees. I can't remember. Anyway, really beautiful colors. Each little mini has something to do with the To Kill a Mockingbird book, character names or scenes or whatever. And so it's a fade, started this kind of very yellowy, creamy color, and now we're into orange. At some point, I think there's gonna be a jump where it fades quickly to another color, because the next skein is very much tied into this kind of rusty orange color. A very simple pattern. I'd started it when I got the Advent back in, I think it was 2021, and got through about 2 of the minis, and then it got put aside and never touched again. I think I'm now up to the ninth one. So this is also sort of sits by the TV, or at least for a little bit longer, it can go in the car with me when if we have to go downtown to a show or something, I can work on it. But it's just getting to that point that it's a little too big to schlep around. Certainly not going on an airplane. But it's a very, very simple, a simple pattern with, every so often you do one of these eyelet rows. And I'm trying to be consistent, but I'm noticing that I'm terrible at counting garter stitch rows. Like I can never quite get it, like, not ever, but I struggle more with like counting the rows when it's garter stitch, because so in certain places you can see there's, well, maybe you can't see, but some places there's like one fewer repeats of the garter than there should be. But that's the habitation throw. It's gonna be great when it's done, when that will happen, hopefully before the next Advent season. And then the other thing that I have got to a stopping point on is the Supersonic hat by Martin Up North. This is a crochet project, one of the 2 hat crochet projects that I was working on. The other one, if you recall, the raffia hat, has gone into timeout because I have to rip it all out and make it a little smaller. This as well is way too big, but I think it's kind of cute. I'm still not done, so I said I hit a stopping point because I ran out of the navy yarn, and I think I have 2 more rows before I get to the edging. So this is done in Knit Picks Kotlin, and I've been talking about, I had like 4 colors to choose from. I ended up just using, or I think I had 5. I ended up using 4 of them here. And as I said, it's big. It's too big. It's probably an inch or 2 too big. The problem with the pattern, and it's pretty easy to follow, but the problem with the pattern is, he says, for a 19-inch circumference, use this yarn and this hook, but he doesn't really ever give you like a gauge in terms of how many clusters, so you don't really know if that's is gonna fit. So I use the weight of yarn and the hook size that was recommended for the size I was going for, but it's ended up to be too big. Now it's cotton linen yarn. My guess is it will shrink if I wash it in hot water and run it through the dryer. So I ran out of the blue, so I had to order some more from Knit Picks. They were running a couple weeks ago a cotton yarn sale, and so I had contemplated ripping this out, trying something new, smaller hook size, something. But then I just decided, well, I'll buy the extra yarn. I'll see if I can shrink it. If it doesn't fit me, then I can donate it and it will fit someone. It actually probably would fit my husband because he has a big head. And if it does shrink and fit me, then great. If I have to redo it, it's a very, very quick project. And I have, Kotlin, I think, is DK weight. Maybe it's sport. I don't know. I have another cotton yarn that was going to be the crochet shirt project from Pearl Soho. Their basic cotton that I think it's a little bit lighter than this, and so I could go down a hook size and use that other weight yarn. I have it in navy. I have it in cream, and there's a sort of limier green than this, but I think it'll be fine. So if the shrinking doesn't work, then that's what we'll do. Give that a shot and see how we go with that. But the Supersonic hat, I think it's really cute. I just wish there was a little more guidance in the pattern in terms of getting it to a size you want, in terms of like giving you an actual gauge so that you knew if you were on the right track as you were doing it. But again, very, very quick project. So that is that. Is that my only crochet thing I think I have going on currently at the moment? The other thing that I took with me to New York, and I showed it last time, but it wasn't very much to show. This is also to try to get wrapped up before summer vacation. This is the t-shirt that I'm working on. It is called the Mohit, Mohit. Here's the picture of what it's going to look like when we're done with it. I'm not going to make the sleeves as long as they are shown on the model, nor do I think I'll do the texturing, although that could be up for debate. I'm about halfway through so it's basically raglan. I'm about halfway through the raglan increases, so it's kind of hard to see much of what's going on here. But it is being done in Pearls Before Wine. This is one of the colorways that was part of my yarn collection that I curated for the AIDS Life Cycle fundraiser last year, Stitch Out Loud. This was called Ride Safe, Be Safe, and I am doing helical knitting to try to, keep the pooling from pooling as much, and I think it's working pretty well. Like it's, you're getting these little striping bits, but because every other row is a different skein, they're kind of spreading themselves out a little bit, and they've gone pretty well. It's not bunching in any one section of the thing. So this is my first ever raglan, and my first attempt at making a t-shirt for myself. So far, so good. I think it has a nice summer vibe. I think if I threw this under a chambray shirt or even like a white Oxford, that would look cute. So we'll see. Hopefully, it's going pretty quickly. Although I spent most of the flight home working on this, and I don't know. I get it. It's fingering weight, but I'm just like, it feels like I should be further along on it than I am. I do want to stop here in a bit, and count. Do a count just to see where I'm off. It's not a question of if, it's a question of where, because I know there are times when I was probably watching a movie or something on the plane, and skipped the increases, or did 2 increased rows in one section in a row versus a plain row in between. So I just want to sit down and count all these stitches and just see where I'm off and where I need to kind of fudge it a little bit and throw in a stitch or decrease a stitch away. But I think that the progress is good, and I think that at this pace I should be good to get this finished before late May, So that's another month and a half. I think that's doable. That supersonic hat are the only things that I'm really hoping to have done for sure for summer vacation, where I can sit outside and be covered from the sun. So that is the Mohit in Pearls Before Wine. Ride safe, be safe. So those are the existing whips that I have, but because I had wrapped up a bunch of stuff recently, and because I went through this like moment one day where I was just like, oh, I want to start something new, and I've been working on all these small projects, and I feel like I want to start something bigger. And I know I'm going to finish these 2 socks, so I need to come up with another pair of socks to work on. So I have started on a couple of things since last time we spoke. Let's go from small to large. I did just after I got home think about a new pair of socks, and I had said that I thought what I was going to do was to do a solid pair of socks to take a break from self-striping and do a solid pair of socks. But as I was looking around, I noticed up behind me, which you can't see on the very top of this bookcase, are a bunch of bags, 3 of which are sock advents or sock countdowns. And so I was looking through them, and one of which I had actually already started. So I said, well, that's already started. I thought about ripping it out, but it seemed silly because it was toe up, and I didn't feel like fiddling around with starting a toe up sock. So I just picked that up, and I said, let's just go with that. And here they are. Sorry, it's sitting right in front of me. So these are from 2023. This is the Hello Spring sock set, mystery sock set from Always Be Kind Yarn, Laura at Always Be Kind Yarn. And it was a whole deal where you got this little tote bag and a lot of little goodies, and then she broke her 115 grams into 2 little sacks, so you can't see the colors that until you start knitting them, with the idea being that like you could do 1 color a day, and then at the end of the month you'd have a pair of socks. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to wait around, or what'll probably happen is I'll knit furiously for a while and then I have to take a break because I'm going to do something else. But I had already, so I'm doing these 2 at a time, toe up. I'm going to use Laura's diamond heel pattern, which you got a code for when you bought the set, and it's her pattern is designed so that you can continue, the stripes continue through the heel, so you don't have like I did on this other thing where you can use the self-striping shop, but it makes it a kind of a bullseye. This one's a little bit different, and it maintains the stripes throughout the heel. But yeah, that's what I when you can actually, you can kind of see right there is I'd cast them on. I had done all of the increase every round rows of the toe and then stopped. And I started these right after I got the Advent back in 2023. So I have a long and checkered history of getting an Advent, starting it, and then stopping and putting it aside and then never picking it up for years. So yeah, I had done a few rows. I've now, over the last day or so, finished at the toes, and I'm into the first round of color, which is this purple. So I assume they're going to be all these kind of like bright Eastery kind of what I think of Easter egg kind of colors. But those will be the socks that I work on for the time being. Still have 2 more Advents up there, but next. Well, I said that, but when I was in New York, 2 of my friends were like, could you make me socks? So one of whom wanted shorties and said, that'll be fun because I've never done a shorty sock before. So that may be the next pair, but I do want to do a solid pair for myself. The next one that I started, this is a gift. It needs to get done by ideally by end of June. This is for a baby child who shares a birthday with me. And I can't really tell much from this, but this is the beginnings of the body for a stuffed friend for this child. And here's the one piece I have done is the head, which, again, not very compelling on its own, but what it is going to become is quite adorable. So this is from the Knitted Animal Friends book by Louise Crowther, and this is the one I've made one out of here before. I made George the dog several years ago. It was a lot of fun, so cute. And then what I'm making for this young woman is, well, it's probably the one that's marked, huh? Let's see. Yes. This is Tilly the hare. So as you can see, Tilly has her own little colorwork carrot sweater over a little dress. They're actually, I think, underneath there, they're like these little bloomers, and then you make the animal themselves. So I think she has several of these books. They're really cute because they have mix and match clothing, and the details are just fantastic. So I had a lot of fun making the dog, and I'm going to have a lot of fun making this rabbit. And the great thing is these little pieces, they don't take much time each one. So it is something that you can just kind of pick up. I've got a couple hours. Let me bang out a leg or bang out do one of the ears. The garments will take a little bit more time, but I think it'll be fun to make that little cardigan. So I'm excited for Tilly the hare. Need to keep plugging along on that, and I think I should be fine to get that done before the end of June, and then she can have it well ahead of our birthday. The other thing is the bigger one, and this I said that I had been inspired by a friend of mine that I catch up with almost every time I go to New York. She and I worked together when I was in college. She's older than I am, but when I was in college, we worked together for while I was in school, and we just stayed in touch all of these years. She subsequently moved to New York, and so when I'm back in home, I try to sit down and we always have like a fun kind of boozy lunch and chat and laugh and whatever. So she's an artist, a visual artist, well, also sort of performance art, but she is a self-taught quilter, and she does just all this like freehand quilting. She doesn't use a sewing machine. It's all applique and pieced, and it's just unbelievable. But she's so like freeform with it. And I was like, I'm not quite there yet in terms of like just pick up some needles and start going. But I kind of wanted to take some of that spirit in. Picked out the Marled Magic shawl from Stephen West. So it's modular. It's all these different marling techniques. And I scrapped, what was it? Twists and Turns was the Stephen West mystery knit along from 2 years ago, not the one before Geo Gradient. And I'd started it, got through like 1.5 clues, hated it, hated my colors, and ripped it all out. But I saved all the colors, I saved all the yarn together because I generally liked the yarn together. I just didn't like how it was working in that pattern. And I was like, I'll do this marled magic with it at some point. But that's not what I'm doing. So I went through like I said, I had this day where I was just like, I want to start working on something. So I pulled out my scraps bin, my fingering weight scraps bin, and I just started grouping yarns, kind of went through the pattern. I think it's like 7 or 8 sections, and he kind of guides you to how much yarn you're going to need, and here's a great place to put mohair, and da-da-da-da-da. And so I just started grouping things together, and so I ended up with these various bags of like scraps for each of the sections. And I think I have enough extras in in here that, if I need to swap things around, I'll be able to do that. There's still plenty of scraps, so I could, if I find that I need something, I can, add or tweak or whatever. So I got so excited. I started the first section. This doesn't need to be done until the fall. I'm planning to give it to her as a gift. She doesn't watch the podcast, I don't think, but if you do, then now you know. But that's the plan. If it turns out if it's hideous, then I won't. But so I started the first one. This has just a bunch of different yarn from a bunch of different dyers held together with the leftover Mermaid Parade from Wandering Flat that I just finished my Oslo hat in. And so this is the first bit. So that really, the mohair really mutes all of the colors, because there's a bright pink in there, there's a bright purple, there's a bright turquoise, and really the turquoise is the only one that really pops out to me. But I think I think it's fun, and there'll be some other sections I think that are going to be a little more bright and vibrant. I tried to pick mainly bright type colors, but I didn't want it to be just completely single note. But yeah, I'm excited to be working on a shawl, and I think this is going to be fun because there's, like I said, there's lots of different marling techniques. This one, the constant is the mohair, and then the colors change every couple rows. Some of the other ones, you change both colors. If you're marling two things together, you change both of them every time you change colors. But it's, there is a pattern in terms of like stitches and connecting and things like that, but in terms of the like marling, it's more of like a recipe and a lot of playing. So I think that'll be a lot of fun over the next 6 months or so to work on that, and then hopefully I'll wrap that up just in time to start the mystery knit along, because I am going to plan to do the mystery knit along this year as well. So that is the Marled Magic shawl from Stephen West with all sorts of scraps. So I think that's it. I mean, there was a lot. There was like 9 things there. I think that's it in terms of the knitting and the crochet. Hopefully, I will make some good progress on this t-shirt in the next couple weeks. Maybe hopefully get past the split for sleeves. I will probably not want to try it on before I do that, just to see if I need to make any changes to it. In terms of acquisitions, just a couple things. One was heart mail. Wasn't really mail because I got it in person, but one of my friends from the knitting group, who I'd given a ride to the SoCal Fiber Fair last year, gave me a new tote bag as sort of a thank you for the ride. It's very, very cute. It says, "Most people will see sheep, a knitter sees potential." So that's very cute. It's a nice size, good sweater sized bag. So thank you for that. You know who you are. In the mail, I got my March Woolens and Nosh. It's April now, so I feel safe doing this. My March Woolens and Nosh sock set. Very springy, actually probably close to the colors in the Always Be Kind, I'm guessing. This is called the Muses. Again, it's on her 9010 Targhee nylon base with this kind of pale gray contrast color. So that's great. If you have not tried this, it's a very plump sock base. So I definitely noticed going from that to the merino base that Laura uses from Always Be Kind yarn, and just sort of how much thinner it feels. The other thing, and this goes back to the crochet shirt debacle that I've talked about from the past. I bought all the yarn, couldn't get gauge, figured there's something up with the pattern. The designer hasn't responded. So I thought at some point I would just try a smaller gauge yarn to see if I could get gauge. And then Knit Picks was having this was not the cotton yarn sale yet. At one point, a couple months ago, or within the last month and a half, they had a 1-day free shipping regardless of what size the order. So I said, okay, well, that's a great way to buy one skein of yarn. I bought this Curio number 10 thread, 700 yards to 100 grams, and I thought, well, I'll go back to the original hook size, recommended hook size for this pattern, and see how that works, because the pattern says it's something like this. It's like lace weight held triple for sport weight, but I couldn't get there. And I thought, oh, I'll try fingering weight if I need to, but I got this, and got the teeny tiny little hook that was recommended, and got gauge like right on the money with this. So I was like, great. I'm not going to do it this year, even though I wanted to do it this year. I'm not going to. There's not enough time between now and the summer vacation using this teeny tiny little thread to make this shirt. So I will maybe start sometime in the fall for next summer. But then Knit Picks had their cotton yarn sale, and so I just went ahead and bought what I needed for this in the 3 colors. I think it's like this, a white, and a lime green. Here's the picture. It's the Moroccan summer shirt, and yeah. So I'm going to try to start working on that sometime in the fall, and hopefully that'll work out. Question: if anyone knows, there are 2 sizes of this curio. This is number 10. I think there's like a number 3. They both say they're like lace weight, but one is like 700 yards per 100 grams, and then the other one is like half that. So I don't really know how they called both of those lace weight, but anyway, it was just a sort of sidebar question. But that's the only other acquisition is that for something for the future. So I need to finish some of these projects, because now my stash count for this month is not negative, and that's not where I want to be. I hope you have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed spending the last hour and 4 minutes or so with you. If you did have a good time and like this content, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. We continue to try to grow this little community. And I hope you have a fantastic couple of weeks wherever you are. If you are going out to the protests on the 5th, please be safe. Take care of each other out there. I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.